In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
We have an idea of a statement we wish to make to every citizen of King County about the incredible history of diversity in King County and all of our commitment to it. This is an absolutely gorgeous lobby welcoming the people of King County to their Martin Luther King County Courthouse.
Yeah, I really can't say. I can't put it into words. It's really sort of the passion of it, but I don't want it to seem too dramatic. It just is that it seems really important now for people to know that that change can happen through individuals coming together. And I don't know that we even know that anymore.
But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. And so we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice.
Okay, the way it works, construction comes in at 6 p.m. and we seal off the basement, basically. 3rd Avenue is closed and everybody's redirected through the 4th Avenue entrance of the courthouse until 6 in the morning.
Just walk on in.
There's an artist, a lady artist, that's spreading the etchings or whatever that go into the flooring down there.
With all of the activity in this space, I really wanted to create something that would be serene and civic and just really have a calmness to it. Also, in due respect to the history of this building, I wanted to follow something of the pattern that was here. And upstairs you can see that pattern, and so I sort of pumped up the idea from the gray of things to black and white. Knowing that decisions are made here, I just thought just work in black and white.
There, I call it a rotunda. It's an elevator lobby, but it's going to be fantastic. It really is. I mean, with the combination of all the artwork up here and then the floor itself.
The moment for me of this foyer is that you'll see this black and white and then this glowing, mirror-backed, thick amber glass moons that will just kind of carry you with just that single one color down the length of the hallway. And then you might see at the end of this end wall that there's a circle cut in. And that's going to be a clock, because there was originally a clock there. And they said, well, gosh, you have to have a clock. And they just looked over to me and said, well, I already know what I want it to be. So that'll be this big, beautiful moon.
No place in Seattle where they're going to have anything like this, I guarantee you.
I'm anxious to get it over with so we can get back to normal.
Well, it's a 100-year-old building, and I could say it's seismically challenged. The courthouse lobby was in 1966 or so when they remodeled the building the last time. They tore out all the marble, and it was just ridiculous. They literally tore out all this beautiful Alaska marble and put concrete in instead. I think it took a lot away from the dignity of the court and certainly the dignity of a public building. This is the oldest and biggest public building in Seattle.
I think the energy of this space is, that I'm creating really just a building part, the floor that that grounds people, where these walls, all the plywood walls you see, are going to be these absolutely surreal landscapes into King County. They're quite remarkable, by an artist like Cooper. So, you know, it's a team playing. His work really is what this space is about, the hallway, both hallways.
We wanted to have a beautiful, enhanced lobby that, and we've got a great arts program here in the county. So we worked with our arts people, and they involved a couple of artists to help out with our designers, or the architects that designed this, to incorporate murals. And in the case of the floor, the terrazzo floor that we were going to have to do anyway, we got an artist to design it.
And in this floor, from the old historic drawings, I got an image of what this floor was once, with the black and the white, or at least the black and the gray of the Alaska marble. And I followed this idea, the compass rose, to create the cuts of the stone for my central circle. I kind of love this X here. Did you want to walk across this for scale? It is the photograph from the March on Washington, 1963, and this is really the heart of the entire concept of the floor, and actually the physical floor at the King County Courthouse. There's a geometry, there's a geometric presence in the entire floor, and this photograph, which is very much about liquid energy, 250,000 people in this site, and that by fracturing it or holding it in this geometric pattern, that it does something to that image that makes it even more timeless somehow to me. I'm hoping there's, that this geometry holds to its own, and that it isn't a struggle for the setters to get the pieces in. I mean, this is, this piece has to fit between 200-pound pieces of stone just to share my moment. And they're sure they can do it, so. See, I just love this. I mean, it's just like this an unbelievable energy that moves all the way through the photograph, that adds its own dimension to what I feel was happening at that time. So the stone is speaking.
We have also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism.
So you are witnessing Team Terrazzo here. This is the crew from General Terrazzo. They're all here, except for David. I feel like you should be a band too, you guys. Like introduce yourself the whole thing.
After 35 years, I mean, you can do anything. And working with Linda, it's easy. She understands what we can do, and she doesn't ask us to do anything that she doesn't think we can do. We started out doing the Harborview Hospital up there on the hill when they did the remodel there. That, was a learning process, I think, for her and for me and the company, So we found out what we really could do, you know. Because some of the things that Linda's tried had never been done before.
I couldn't help but want to create, using a really ancient medium of terrazzo, to really create something timeless and serene within a terrazzo floor. I've worked with it intermittently over about 15 years now, and it seems like an endlessly beautiful medium, and I really can paint with it. Well, the mother of pearl, which I love, that you open up the sacks, and not only does it smell like the sea, but they're actually remnants from button factories. So occasionally you'll find a piece, well, you'll find a button. I seed this. This is called seeding, like you're planting a garden. I seed the mother of pearl, and then I always put in more and more and more. And I always leave a little edge, because the art of doing this terrazzo is that they've got to be able to pull back. And then the next big cheat is that after I put the mother of pearl in, is that I put these huge big chunks that are called Venetians. And this particular stone, you know, of course, is from Italy, and it's ivory, and it has more color in it. It's got warm and cool. I mean, it's just really a beautiful stone. And it happens by its nature to sort of go into flat pieces. But again, we couldn't put this into the mix because they'd be sticking up. So I have to sort of, again, cheat the system to get it to look like this old, thick, really ancient terrazzo from Rome, or in Venice.
Vince, just put a little more art in it, will you? Make a little white art and a little ivory art. Make them a little fuller.
One of the things that rather amazed me about doing research for this piece was the way things came to me. And I have a love for working with terrazzo. I have a love for working with stone, whether it's etched or not. And when I opened a book that I was looking at for quotations to put into the terrazzo floor, and I really literally flipped the book open, and it said, from Martin Luther King, the quote, "Truth crushed to the earth will rise again." I just got a shiver, because I felt like that will guide me through this piece. It is like cooking, this whole thing with terrazzo. So you've got stones to choose from that are local from, or at least regional, from Washington, from Chewelah, which is eastern Washington, so it's sort of cool. But then there's also stones that aren't so local. Some of them are harder and softer. And, I mean, I'm just learning all of this, but there's a sort of even a recipe for the size of chips to use. And this is from Chewelah, eastern Washington, and called Chewelah Black. And it cracks sort of like flint. So it makes big flat pieces so that they can tap them in.
It's definitely an art form. Not too many people know this skill here, you know?
Most complicated? Oh, this would be one of the better ones.
You know, the work we're doing is so involved. Most people have no idea what it entails to install a floor and finish it. Most people think we just roll it out like a piece of linoleum and walk away, you know. They have no idea. They know what tile is. They know what marble is. But a terrazzo floor, most people have no idea, no conception of what it really takes to install.
Terrazzo's been around since the time of the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans had it. It's been all through Europe. So it's basically, it is construction, but it's more of an art.
It's pretty physical work, you know. You gotta be in shape to do this, or you gotta have a lot of will strength, you know.
Terrazzo is about 75% labor oriented. So you're doing it with your body, your hands, your back. I mean, you can't push it, can't rush it. because the job has to be done the right way. I like things done right and done just once, right the first time. We install floors, we don't take them out. That's my philosophy. So
you always want trust when you're working as an artist in a public space, because you are willing to take yourself out into a vision, and you've really got to hope that the people that are hiring you are both willing to trust you and aid you in any way they can along the way.
Working with any artist and commissioning any work of art is a leap of faith. But in all cases, it's very much allowing the artist to experiment, creating a structure where the artist feels safe and like it's okay to experiment. It's okay not to know everything. It's okay to work it through.
With this commission, I really respect them for trusting me, but I kind of think they're out of their minds, because this was a really technically difficult piece to pull off, and I think it's also psychologically pretty challenging. I feel right now that it's finally at rest, both in my mind and as the stone. I mean, obviously I still have to get it to the courthouse, but as I have worked from the center out, the image is telling itself to me. The image shows itself to me. I feel like I almost know some of the people in the crowd. My husband is actually there. Be careful what you wish for, because I always have hoped that they would just trust me, and now they have, and I'm as scared as a cat. Well, the forklift and the truck arrived within minutes of each other, you know, to both pick, not just to pick up the stone, but to actually load the stone from my studio. And the guys didn't really know what they were up for. And so, you know, I tried to explain this cradle to grave idea, that every piece has its own cradle, but every baby weighs about 80 pounds.
Oh, it's because it's not perfectly centered. A little.
Well, I refused. I stepped out of the ring. I'm leaving it to like 8 men to wrestle with a couple of tons of stone. It's just a matter of getting a perfectly sized pallet into a perfectly sized door. So if the pallet on the cake doesn't exactly line up, even by half an inch, it won't go into the elevator. So they'll probably bring it back and readjust it, because otherwise they'd have to carry them all upstairs individually. And that can't happen. We did that this morning already.
She's well organized, and that really helps our part too. Especially with how she's got her stone packed here and how easy it is to move.
The template upstairs.
Yeah.
This week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Four good days.
Yeah, we'll have it in. Probably by Friday. Or sooner.
With every piece that every other craftsperson has made on this job, I am like astounded. The glass moons are beautiful. The Italian delights are beautiful. The terrazzo is absolutely beautifully crafted. So it's just up to me now to pull this off. And that's what you want. You really want to put yourself in a position each time where you're maybe lifting the tightrope and tightening it just a little bit more so that you push yourself.
It's been almost 4 years since Linda proposed the project. I think the entire process for Linda is all of her art making. It comes from a very personal place within.
This one goes here.
Actually, for a lot of artists, and I think members of the public and certainly clients interacting with artists often underestimate just what a personal and vulnerable thing art making really is. All artists have to choose and search deep down inside of themselves to come up with images and ideas and notions that are intensely personal, but that they think will have resonance with other people too. I think Linda is an artist that does that really beautifully.
And then we want to keep it, we'll keep these at about a 16th inch joint.
I was asked how big of joints I'd like between the stone, and they're used to doing something less than a 16th of an inch even.
Look at that, that's perfect.
Given that it's a circle, I said, so if it's a 16th inch at the outside edge, how do you adjust it so that you can make it to the center? And they said, well, the increment increases slightly to the center of the circle. So by the time you get to the center, it might be even as much as maybe even 3/8 at the very center.
That's really good, that's cool. Put the level across that too, and let's see how flat we can keep this first run here. So try and, I put a little extra right here. Look at that. That's pretty good.
It's something to do with the geometry that I find is the beauty of this piece overall.
For the most part, it's been pretty easy. We don't want to say a piece of cake yet because we still have the last pieces to put in, so we want B3 then.
Yeah.
We were saving the piece of cake for when we got done. Then we could say it was a piece of cake. It'll match. Okay. I got this. Go ahead. You got the pry bar? Okay, watch. Fingers out of the way.
They've just made it look as though it just happened. And we know.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh my God. So now they're about to put in the last one, that's that skinny piece, and they have always been calling it the coffin. And I said, well, how appropriate for the last piece.
Piece of cake.
Okay, here we go. Here's one. Okay, we're gonna take this.
There's the Lincoln Memorial. I was up there, right in front of the podium. Like the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last.
It's been a really long road, but one of joy and one of hope and one of profound difference.
I feel like the facility now matches the dignity of the compassion and the justice that we're responsible for doing in this building.
This photograph records a passionate time in our history. It's an image etched in many of our minds, and now it is etched into stone. I feel like I'm seeing a cycle, and I'm I'm really glad I'm putting this in to the floor at this time because of the need for us to know what it really takes to create change.
When we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.